couple quick things for you as candidates. We encourage you to talk to the citizens, okay? Not to Corey, okay? I'll be sitting over here timing for you. And I'll just kind of give you just a little hand signal and just kind of wrap up. We're not going to set an alarm off or anything like that. So we'll just try and make it so we're good, that we're going to just wrap up, okay? The other one for everybody that's here, we got microphones in the ceiling, and they're really good. So if you would, try and keep it down. If you've got comments you want to make, I would just encourage you not to make any comment you don't want to be heard live on Facebook. Okay? So keep it down. Have a great night. We're going to turn the time. I'm with the ChamberWest, kind of helped organize all this. Corey's going to be our moderator. We're going to turn the time over to him and let him go to work. But thank you for all coming out tonight.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you, first of all, to West Valley City for being willing to host this. And also, by way of introductions, I serve on the board of directors for West Valley ChamberWest, board of directors for ChamberWest. I'll get it right. So we're grateful to be here and be able to host this as well with West Valley City. The format tonight is going to be, I'll be asking questions at large. I'll have each of them take the question that I ask and provide a 2-minute response to that question. Prior to that, I'm going to ask each of them to take a couple of minutes each and give us their best elevator speech as to why they feel like they are the one that would best represent the citizens of West Valley City. And then again, we'll go to the questions, and then at the end there, we may go to a rapid fire type format where I maybe give you an issue and you've got 20 seconds to give how you feel about it. So we'll see if we have enough time for that. But mostly we're just here to have fun. We'd also like to recognize Mayor Bigelow, who will be retired at the end of the year. And obviously, either Karen or Steve will be one of the the new mayor. And then also Dawn Christensen. Dawn, thank you for your service in the city council as well. Am I missing anybody else that I should recognize?
It's not a candidate.
That's not a candidate, yes.
We have a former city council member with us, Barbara Thomas.
Oh, Barbara, thank you. Thank you for, grateful to have you, Barbara.
Thank you.
So, this is being broadcast on Facebook Live. So again, if, just be bold and express yourself loudly so that they can hear you. So let's start out. Steve, let's start with you with your 2-minute elevator speech, and we'll just work around the table, if that's okay.
Hey, I'm Steve Bueller. I'm just finishing my 3rd term on the city council. I have never considered myself a politician, but I ran for city council when some people in my neighborhood suggested it, and went home and talked to Maria, and she said, sure, let's do it. So it's been a good 12 years, and I think we've seen a lot of improvement and great things happening in the city, and I want to continue those things. Sitting in my District 2 chair, I've become a little bit restless. I would have run for mayor 4 years ago, but with Ron running again, I didn't think that it would be beneficial to the council for me to oppose him and run against him, so I waited to this time to see if he'd step aside. He did. He's going to go do great things, I believe, but leaving that chair open, I would like to assume that role and be the mayor and take more of a leadership role. I think strengths that I bring are building a consensus, trying to figure things out, being able to change my mind, being able to be convinced of another viewpoint, and then being able to rally behind that and try to bring the council together, or enough of the council together, to achieve that goal and achieve that progress. Other than that, I was also excited to step aside a little bit from District 2 chair and see who else ran. I think that over the years, some people might have been discouraged to run, that they didn't think they could win. It was exciting to see some new people throw their hats into the arena for the District 2 chair. I think that some turnover in that manner is a good thing for the council.
Thank you,
Sorry, I have to have notes because I get nervous because I care a lot about this. And so, if you see me looking at my notes, I'm sorry. I'm Karen Lang, and I am excited to run for mayor. It's been a great experience. I've met so many people and just gotten different aspects of what people's lives is in the city. It's been my pleasure to serve. I started out on the Planning and Zoning Commission in '97 and served there for 10 years. And I'm in my 10th year serving as a city council member. I've sat on the Clean and Beautiful Committee for the city and the Tree Committee. I also serve outside the city on ChamberWest, Jordan Valley Hospital's Governing Board, Salt Lake, this one is all these names are very, very long, by the way. So Salt Lake County Council of Governments, Jordan Valley Hospital's Governing Board, Wasatch Front's Regional Council Economic Development Board, and on Jordan Water Conservancy District Board of Directors. I've owned my own my own business in the city for 39 years. And Brian, my husband, and I have raised 4 children here, 2 boys and 2 girls. They were all raised in West Valley and educated in West Valley. And it was a great place to raise my kids. And I want to continue that opportunity for the next generations that come around. So my focus is quality of life in the city. And I believe it's very important to go out and talk to people and get their viewpoint, because I'm not always the smartest person in the room or the only one with a good idea. So I'm fortunate enough that in my business I have a lot of residents that come, and I have some that just come, tell me their city business that they have questions on, and then move along and don't even purchase anything at my business. But it's good to have that interaction with residents on a daily basis.
Thank you, Karen. Jim?
Name is Jim Visak. I've lived in the area for over 10 years. I've lived in my current house. I'm going into my 5th year. When I moved to West Valley City, I thought it was going to be a temporary thing as I was building a house out in West Jordan. And then I fell in love with West Valley City. I currently chair the Clean and Beautiful Committee. I volunteer at all city events that I can get to, except now that I'm a candidate, I can't volunteer anymore, but I can still help them afterwards. I believe that some of our elected officials have forgotten that, and our city employees have forgotten that they work for the people of West Valley City. And we answer to the people of West Valley City. I also agree with what Karen said about being out amongst the people. My hometown, all the block parties and stuff out there, I enjoy going out and meeting these people. Our residents, not these people, the residents of West Valley City. I got to meet a lot of great people and hear their issues. And it just encouraged me even more to run. I didn't think I was gonna run in January, and then when I made the decision, I went all in. And I will always listen to the people in West Valley City. We may not always agree, but if you send me an email or if you call me or come and knock on my door, you're gonna get an answer and a response. I will always be there for the people of West Valley City.
Thanks, Jim. Lindy?
Yes, first I want to thank all of you for coming and giving us this opportunity to meet you all. And thank you, ChamberWest, for hosting this event. My name is Lindy Sue Baldwin, and I have my notes too, because it makes me feel better and more secure. But anyway, I'm Lindy Sue Baldwin, and I'm running for City Council at large. I have many hats. I am a wife, a mom, a grandma of 10 grandchildren. I'm a nurse. I'm a veteran. I served in the Navy for 13 years. I am definitely not a politician, and this is the first time that I have ever stepped into this role and been a candidate and wanted to run. So this is new to me. I'm running because I feel it's time for me. It's a door that's opening. My kids, I raised my kids in West Valley. My grandkids, I did. My kids were all were older when we moved here. But my grandkids, I was a nanny, and I retired, and they outgrew me, so they're out doing their own stuff. They're in high school and junior high. And so this is doors opening for me, and I thought that this was a good time to just get in there, get involved. I will work hard. I've been in leadership roles before. I've done leadership in the military. I've done leadership in my community. I was the president of HOA. I'm a leadership in my church. I was the senior leader for our adult senior ministry. And for the kids, I taught first and second grade in our church in our missionette program, which is kind of like Girl Scouts. But anyway, I like getting involved. I love people. I love West Valley, and I thought this is a perfect time. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I heard that city councils do a lot with zoning. So this is my first zoning change. But, so am I running out of time? Okay, that's it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nordfeld.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks, everyone, for being here and doing your civic duty to learn about us and to participate in this process. This is the right thing. And for those, I don't know where the camera is to wave, but those who are watching at home as well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to run for city council again. I am finishing up my second term on the city council. This is my first elected office, and I enjoy the work, and I want to continue serving. I grew up here in West Valley. I went to Farnsworth Elementary, Kennedy Junior, and Granger High School, and I've lived here most of my life. And I love my hometown, and I want to help. And I want my own children to be able to say those same words when they're my age, which is still a long ways away. And that's my vision for the city, so that the decisions that we make as a city council will preserve our city for future generations and make it so that people will want to live and work here. And I enjoy the work, and there's still good work to do. A big focus of mine is sustainability, and we still have some work to do in that arena, and we always will. And I'm ready to continue carrying that torch forward and helping our city so that we are sustainable in the future.
Thanks, Lars. Let's see, we have, is it Chris Bell? Scott, my bad. Scott, yes, I apologize.
No problem. I'm Scott Harmon. This is my first go at politics, and don't consider myself a politician at all. About 10 months ago in January, my wife and I thought about maybe running for city council for the last 6 or 7 years, just kind of batting it back and forth. But 10 months ago, the idea became more important in our lives, and so I checked with Steve and heard that Steve was going to campaign for mayor and vacate his seat, and so I thought this might be a great opportunity to serve in West Valley. Like Lars, I'm born and raised in Granger. My folks still live in the same house I was raised over by Granger High. Once I got married, we moved out of West Valley for about 2 years, and we came back, and we've been here ever since. And so I probably spent 44 of my 46 years in Granger, West Valley City, and I love West Valley.
Great, thank you very much, Scott.
I'm not done yet.
Keep going.
Can I have 30 more seconds?
You got it, you bet.
Okay.
No breaths, though.
Just getting wound up.
Okay.
My career's in real estate, and so I'm concerned with how we develop and redevelop in West Valley City. We've developed just about everything, but we're gonna start seeing redevelopments, and how do we envision what West Valley City looks like in 20 years from now? And so that's one of my focuses, and I'll be done.
Great, thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
You're fine.
Okay, let's hear from Chris.
Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Bell. I've lived here in West Valley for about almost 5 years now. Some of the things that are very important to me as I run my campaign and as I live here in West Valley and as I get out and talk to people is being able to listen and hear what people's concerns are so that I can make better decisions as a member of the city council should I be elected. Another one of my concerns that has me worried about our city is something that Lars also talked about, sustainability in our environment and how we can make sure that we have a healthy environment. I have a 9-year-old daughter. She goes to Rolling Meadows Elementary School, and I'm on the school community council there, where I work with other parents and the principal to help with their individual budget with the land trust funds every year, so that we can have a good quality education for our children. But again, back to my daughter and all of our children and grandchildren, we need to have cleaner air in our valley and in our city. Yes, we live in a bowl. Yes, it's gonna get bad every year, but I don't believe that it has to be as bad as it's been. And I believe that there are lots of things that we can do here at the city level to help address those issues. And that's something that I look forward to doing on our city council, is whether it comes to development and redevelopment, how we're addressing that. When it comes to zoning and what we're allowing to be built or not be built in our city, or how it should be built in our city. These are conversations that I wanna have with every one of you, so that we can have the best future possible for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Chris. Daryl, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, and thank you, ChamberWest, for hosting this event tonight, and for all of you that are coming here tonight. It's a great opportunity to sit here and to contemplate the things that are going on in our city. I'm a father of 5 children. All of our children are raised. One of the concerns that I have is affordable housing. None of my children can afford a house in West Valley, or even in Salt Lake Valley. It's a concern. And you know, some solutions are, well, we'll build more apartments. Well, apartment doesn't mean that you're gonna have a permanent resident. I don't know very many people that their dream is to own or live in an apartment the rest of their lives. The dream is, the American dream, is to have your own home that you can live in and prosper. But I'm really concerned that if we don't do something about it, if we don't put land away or things away that we can have more affordable housing, we're going to just really detriment our children. You have a 9-year-old daughter. Is she going to be able to live here when she gets old enough to buy a house? I just want to make a difference. I think that's the biggest thing. I work with the federal government, and I work with a lot of contractors and a lot of people, and I'm not afraid to ask questions. Contractors tend to elevate their stature and try and make you understand things, and a lot of people are afraid to ask because they don't want to look stupid. Well, I don't care. I want to know what's going on. I want to make sure that I understand what is being implemented. I have gone to the city council meetings to just to see what's being addressed, and there are questions, there's concerns that are going on in our city, and that's why I'm running, is to make a difference for the citizens of West Valley, to be there to help any way I can. It's a great blessing, a great opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Fitzimanu. Jake.
Thanks. When we're out and about and we tell somebody that we're from West Valley City, what kind of reactions do you get? Probably some of the same reactions that I get, which may be a sense of disappointment or shock or a lot of perceptions and misperceptions about the community that we know and that we love. And while there are issues, while there are challenges, while there are definitely areas to improve, the reason why I'm running for city council is because I love this community and because I believe in government that is for the people, by the people, and of the people, which by definition means that our community voices need to be heard at all tables of power, wherever policies are being made, because whenever we hit a pothole and that messes up your suspension, or you snap an axle, or every time you turn on the water, and whether or not water comes out or whether that water is clean, every time we take our car in to get inspected or to get our licenses renewed, somebody somewhere made a decision about how often we have to do those things and how much the fee is gonna cost when we do those things. Why shouldn't we have a say in those decisions? Why shouldn't we have a seat at the table when those things are being discussed? Because this is our home, this is our house. And when I come home and I walk my block and I see my neighbors who are from different countries, from different backgrounds, some whose ancestors crossed the plains in covered wagons, and others who are recently arrived refugees or asylees. This is a community that I want to stand up for, and this is a community that I feel a real kinship to. And so that's my responsibility as a current city council member, is to hear those voices and elevate them, whether or not I agree with them. And that's my claim to fame, is that I can honestly say that every email, phone call that I've received has been responded to. My name's Jake Fitzsimano. I'm running for City Council District 4, and I'm hoping for your vote and your support.
Thank you, Jake. And thank you to each of you for being here as well. I've got a couple of questions, and I'm going to rotate how we approach this so that Steve isn't always getting the first bite at the apple. We'll start working around. In fact, I'm going to start with you, Jake, if that's okay. West Valley City has a very diverse population. How do you bring that population as a city council member or as the mayor to enjoy more of a voice in their government?
I love that question. As an immigrant myself, from an immigrant family who came to the United States when I was very young, the issues around assimilation and integration and learning a language and becoming a member of a community is the story of my life. And it's really interesting for me to see my two daughters being raised in this community, which, as you mentioned, is the most ethnically diverse in the state, the second largest in terms of population. We have the largest Pacific Islander population here. We have the largest Vietnamese American population here. And all of that vibrancy and all of that, all of those things contribute to this amazing community that we can build. But in order, to the question, to make sure that everyone is made to feel welcome and given a seat at the table, what we really need to do is reach out. We should not be afraid to reach out. We should not be afraid to have our city materials translated in languages other than English. We should not be afraid to encourage all individuals from whatever their background is to participate in the services and in the activities that the city hosts and sponsors. We can do that by engaging people in the existing organizations that we already have. For example, we all are aware, most or hopefully are aware, of our neighborhood watch groups or PTA groups or other organizations within the community that are there. And if we can take a step back and say, who's not at this table today, or who's not in the room today, and make an effort to reach out and make that invitation, people will accept that invitation. And whether they're very proficient in English or whether they've been here their whole lives or not, everyone has something to contribute. And that diversity, not just in ethnicity or language, but that diversity in perspective and lived experiences is going to contribute to making this city the best city we can make it.
Darryl, before you go, I just want to, for the audience, if you've got a question specific that you would like to have asked, Becky has little 3x5 cards. Feel free to just raise your hand. She'll pass you one, and then you can write that question down, and hopefully we'll be able to get to it. So, okay. Same question.
You know, our society is a tapestry, a beautiful tapestry, and everyone has a part of that tapestry. And how they play in that and how they work in that is important to our city and the citizens of our city. We want to make sure that there is a proper education. Education brings in diversity, brings in that we can accept and learn to accept other people from different nationalities, different cultures. I know that there's some times that there's some confusion on cultural issues, but we need to be able to be accepting of those individuals and have them come and be a part. I agree that English is can be a difficult language for a lot of people, but we need to encourage that one commonality that we can all get together and greet each other and share each other's humanity. We need to make sure that the police force understands the differences in the culture, to make sure that there's not some misunderstandings and some discrimination that can affect. It always bothers me when I see, and I'm concerned when someone is discriminated against because of their race, their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, or anything else. It's a concern because we are all God's children in a sense. We are all here on this earth, and we all need that opportunity to welcome each other and strengthen each other. I just think we need to make sure that we are inclusive and not exclusive. So, thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay, Scott, or Chris, let's do it backwards.
Thank you. That's a big issue that we face in our schools as well. As I said, I sit on the school community council at my daughter's elementary school. And that's one of the big problems we have, is making sure that just the parents of our students are engaged and are receiving the information that they need to make the good choices for their children and their education. We have students of all different backgrounds. Like Jake was saying, we've got one of the most, if not the most diverse population in our city here in West Valley. And so we need to be making sure that we're reaching out to them, that we're getting information into their hands so that they know how to communicate with us, so that we know how to communicate with them, so that we can have the discussions with them to know what's important to them. You know, as I said, one of the things that I want to work on the most as being a member of the city council is reaching out to people and having discussions. And I want to have those discussions with everyone, not just in District 2, the corner of the city where I live, but all over the city. I want to be able to have these conversations, and we need to be doing more to be reaching out to them so that we all have the best information possible. Some of the ways we can do that is, again, we can use some of the institutions and organizations that are already out there. But if we see a hole somewhere where something's not getting done, someone's not being reached, we need to step up and be that voice ourselves. We need to take our seat on the city council to our neighborhoods. Not just sit across the street there every week and expect everyone to come to us to bring us their issues. We need to go out into our neighborhoods, not just once every 4 years, but all the time, to make sure that we're meeting with everybody to get those concerns brought to us so that we can address them.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Chris now.
Scott Hartman.
You guys want to change the?
My name is Chris.
For the moderator?
Do you want us?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just pause, we'll put in the name.
Sorry, Scott.
That's okay. I think, these have been great comments. I think as city council, we can lead out and show that we have an outreach in the community as we knock on doors and meet with people, as we have block parties. The city does a great job already at organizing some of those things to help us reach out to our diverse community that is West Valley. So I think we can just continue to lead out as city council and as mayor to strengthen those things that we already do to help build that diversity and to include our whole community.
Thank you. Did you take a breath, or are you going to keep going?
I'm
Okay. Scott.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lars.
Thank you. This is a great question, and we're very fortunate in this city to have such diversity and multiple cultures that share with each other and add to the zest of life that is West Valley City. It's a lot different city than the city when I was a boy. And I love that my children go to school with people from other cultures and get to know them without having other people tell them what they should think about them. And they get to have them as their friends and see them as they really are. And to not have the color of the skin determine who they hang out with. It's wonderful. And the city already has so many great events that bring people together. One thing I really love is going to the fitness center and to be able to work out with my neighbors from all different backgrounds, and it brings us together. And I think we can continue to do things like this. A few years ago, a group came to our council, and they were really concerned about how our police were going to respond to our residents who were not documented. And they were very fearful. It was a time of a lot of fear. And after the meeting, I met with I pulled aside one of the people that spoke to us, and I made arrangements to meet with her at her house in Chesterfield, and we had a great discussion and talked about how the police can respond and what the city council can do to help them. And then we talked about it as a council. That's what I do on the city council, and I'll continue to do.
Thanks, Lars. Lindy?
Yeah, I think just getting involved in the community where you live. Me and my husband went to this church for 10 years, and it was all Hispanic speaking, but they're all from Mexico or North America or Cuba or South America, I'm sorry. And they all spoke Spanish, and me and my husband were the only white, English-speaking people in there. But we went in there because we love people, and we love them, and we got to know them. And I got to teach the first and second graders. My husband was teaching the boys group, and we taught them many things. He taught them how to camp, how to cook, how to lay fires. We just got involved with them to assimilate them into our communities. And I was able to teach the girls how to read. Their parents don't speak good English. So I think it's just getting in there and just doing what needs to be done and being helpful and just accepting and teaching and just, just being involved.
Thank you, Lindy. Chris?
Jim.
Jim? Boy, you got a bad moderator tonight, sorry.
It's a great name, I can understand it.
Scraped the bottom of the barrel when they asked me.
Great question. Bringing people together. First of all, being out amongst them is the best way. Meeting them. With all the National Night Out events that go on through the city, I believe our council people should be out there talking to them. I've met so many different people, so many different cultures, eaten so many foods that I've never tried while being out there talking and meeting the people. The other thing is our My Hometown projects that are going on. This is a great program throughout the city. It brings neighbors together. It brings areas together. They have so many resources at the Community Resource Center where we have people learning to speak English. We have people learning piano lessons, of all things. It's what the public wanted to learn. All the different things, that they have their own form of structure. West Valley City gives them a little bit of money, and then they've taken it. It is such a great program, seeing neighbors cleaning up another neighbor's yard. Nobody's being paid for it. It's all about out there serving. The last one just happened for the year. It was pouring rain. We had over 200 people in the area that I was at. There was 4 of them that were going on. I don't know what the grand totals were, but in the area where we were sopping wet, and we were still out there getting our projects done, from cutting down trees, putting in sprinkler systems, fixing fences. The only thing we didn't do, there were some staining projects, and can't stain in the rain unless you want a big mess. So that My Hometown brings the neighbors together. and it encourages them to get out there and help other people. And it is such a passion that I've had. I've been out there working with them. I am one of their volunteers. I enjoy it so much. And then once again, the block parties.
Great, thank you very much. Karen?
Oh, I thought it'd be Scott again. First time. I think this is a great question, and I think as a city, we're doing very well with our police, fire, and staff that are have diverse backgrounds, have come from different parts of the world and the United States. And each one brings in a different perspective from their area, which I think is good input. On our city council, it's very diverse. So I think that helps us see different cultures from different standpoints. I'm lucky, my daughter's lived in a couple foreign countries, so I get to see little snippets of what goes on in those countries. Our kids went to school here. Our elementary school had 47 different languages. And my kids had friends that were from pretty much all of those different areas. And I think it was such a privilege to raise my kids in that environment because they can engage with anyone and they have a reference to go back, well, oh, I have a friend from there, or I know somebody, and they've used that to their advantage in their life. Our grandchildren, I asked my one grandson something, and he's at a school here in West Valley, and he doesn't even see color. And I think that is such a great thing that this next generation doesn't see that. It's just my friend, Johnny, or Javier, or whatever. So I think as a city, we're so blessed to have the diversity and be able to meet people from all over the world. It just kind of makes me feel like I've gone on a few extra vacations because they tell me about how they were raised and what their community was like when they grew up. So I think we're very privileged that way.
Thank you. Steve?
Hey, thank you for the softball question, Corey. When I ran for council the first time, when I was elected in 2009, there was a lot of concern about illegal immigration. There were candidates who made that their platform and spoke very harshly of some of these things, and I became very concerned with that, and after being elected, tried to discover what was the real concern. I concluded that as residents in West Valley City, we are not racists. What we are is frustrated sometimes when we cannot communicate with our neighbors, when our neighbors seem to keep to themselves. And as Karen said, there are dozens of languages spoken in this city. So what to do? I formulated a plan, and I talked to each of the city council people and the mayor at the time, and worked out what we ended up terming the English Language Initiative, which is a zero-cost program to the city. But what we did was formally recognize those who learn English on the premise that we can't learn all of the languages, and we can't expect someone who immigrates from Vietnam to learn Samoan or to learn Spanish so that they can all communicate. That English is going to have to be the baseline common denominator for all of us. I think every member of the city council over these 12 years has had their heart touched as these people have lined up in chambers, told us their name, told us where they're from, all over the world, and thanked us for recognizing them. What a great achievement. It's not easy to learn English. Now, I did it when I was like 2, but for most people it's quite difficult. And that we would recognize them, they were thankful for that, and I'm thankful for them because that makes our community stronger, having that common denominator.
Thanks, Steve. I'm going to start with Daryl this time. Daryl, I'm going to ask you the following question and ask the others to respond. I'm going to ask you to keep your comments to about 1.5 minutes instead of 2 minutes so that we can get through more questions. David, if you'll take note of that, that'd be helpful. So minute and a half, I think you'll be able to get your points out. The question that one of the members of the audience want to ask is, what role does West Valley City have in dealing with the homeless situation that we have? There's a lot of talk in Salt Lake County about the homeless situation, and West Valley City being the second largest city in the state. What role does West Valley City play in that?
Well, I think with the homeless situation, it's amazing. It's something that I don't think will ever go away. It will never go away. It's always going to be a part, but how we address it and what we do is very important. I think we need to make sure we have that outreach. We need the education. We need to try to help them to want to be off the street. In my family, we've discussed it several times. What do we do with the homeless situation? How can we resolve some? And some people are homeless because, one, they don't have, they felt hard on their luck and they're out of their house. Others are there because of some medical issues or some other things. But I think we need to try to address those issues as we can and the city has to play a part of it. We can't be the second largest city in the county or in the state and just sit by it and say, nope, not our problem, it's Salt Lake, and let them deal with it, and we'll close our borders and not let them come in. But that's, we can't. We have camps out by where I live, and we need to address those issues and get the social workers and other people involved to help them.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna get it right this time. Chris.
Thank you for the question. We need to be working and building partnerships with the county and with the state and with all interested parties to be finding solutions. Not everybody's story is gonna be the same. As Darryl pointed out, some of you just ran into a bad luck. You lost a paycheck or two and now you're out. Some of them are medical or mental issues. And finding out what each person's story is and addressing that and getting them the tools and resources they need to get into the housing that is right for them. I know there's been talk in the past of building a shelter in West Valley City. You're not building a shelter in West Valley City. Those are discussions I think we need to continue having. One of the things that I know that our police department has done really well with over the last few years is having social workers working with 911 dispatch and getting a lot of habitual 911 callers who may be suffering from these issues the help and the tools that they need, which frees up our police department to handle other more serious emergencies throughout our city, taking care of all of our residents. But whether you're housed or unhoused, you are a resident, you are here, you are important, and I want to work with you to find the solutions to get you the tools and resources that you need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Scott.
Thank you. It's a big problem, and it's gonna just get bigger if we don't address it. I think we do need to look 5 or 10 years down the road and get after it now, because otherwise we're gonna be chasing it when we've got bigger problems in our neighborhood. So,
Great.
thanks.
Okay. Lars.
This is a difficult issue, and if any of you have the silver bullet that will fix this, please tell us, because we haven't found it yet. And it's a challenge, and it will continue to be a challenge. We are doing things that help in this, and we have resources in our city for homeless, and we recently passed an ordinance that made it difficult for them to panhandle at, maybe some of the panhandlers weren't really homeless, but to panhandle at intersections or when you come out of a grocery store. I hope that you've noticed that that's reduced in the past couple of years. But I wish I had an answer, because it's a serious issue. It's an issue for the homeless. It's an issue for the rest of us as well. And we're just going to keep trying and doing the best that we can.
Great. Thanks, Lars. Lindy?
Yes, we definitely have a housing crisis, for sure. It's just too, people can't afford to rent, they can't afford to buy houses. It's terrible, and, people are ending up homeless, and a lot more are gonna be homeless if we don't find solutions. We need to come together as a council and with the city and come up with some solutions. I know HUD was very helpful in the past in, providing housing support and uplifting communities. They did that 30, 40 years ago. It was a great, great program. And I know because I was in one. And when I was a young mother, and I lived in a HUD dwelling that was subsidized. And it helped me get on my feet, helped me get through school. And then I can afford. People need help. They're crying out for help. There is no help. We have Section 8 Housing Choice Program, but there's no applications. They can't get in. There's no available dwellings. We need to do something. It's only gonna get worse. I think HUD needs to get going again and find more landlords that are willing to subsidize. I think investing in developments that are affordable dwelling. We can invest in developments in certain areas for seniors, that their income is very limited and they need housing. They need affordable housing. We need, just to get housing, dwellings and developments by HUD and that are, that provide assistance. I think that would be very, very helpful.
Thank you,
We
Lindy.
need more of those.
Jim?
First of all, we need to look at it as, there go by the grace of God. Any one of us at any time could be homeless. Situations could change. We need, like Darrell said, we need to partner with the county, with Salt Lake County. We need to have that partnership and joining in and be a leader instead of a follower. West Valley City needs to step out and lead instead of being followers. And remember, like I said, there go by the grace of God. Let people know that we have renter assistance programs out there. The state offers a lot of things, and there's so much money just sitting there, and a lot of people don't know it. And that's one thing, by being out there, you can inform these people when they come up and, Jim, I'm having a hard time. The other thing is let them know that the food banks, and also volunteer there once a week. If you go hungry in West Valley City, there's a food bank almost every single day where you can get food. And there's so much available there. So, once again, we need to have sympathy and always remember that, some people are living paycheck to paycheck, and it could be us just as well.
Thank you, Jim. Karen?
Thank you.
I've known you for a long time. It's like,
That's all right. I appreciate the opportunity. As a city, we do have a program with people from different departments that do go out when we have, if we can identify a homeless person. They go out and they offer the assistance and the means for them to get programs, to get housing, to get mental health, to get those services. Not everybody will accept them, and we can't force it on them, but the opportunity is there for them. I think the city has done a great job of stepping up and helping the best they can in that situation. There are a lot of county assistant programs that people just don't know about, and they need to be shared more with the community. And I think we still have some actions we can to move forward and do a better job of what we're doing, but I think right now where we're at, we're really helping those who find themselves in that situation.
thank you, Karen. Steve?
What Karen's talking about is our homelessness task force, which we created, which meets, I think, weekly. And when I have noticed people with these issues, with these problems, and brought it to the attention of that task force, they know them. They know them by name, they know their issues, they've helped them, and that's how we are already dealing with this issue. Those that need services, those that will accept services, are getting services. There are other homeless that are homeless by choice, by preference. They permanent campers. And what I don't want to do is build a shelter. If you build it, they will come. We'll have more homeless than we can care for, than we can divert, just like Salt Lake City does. If you drive down 17th South by what used to be Raging Waters, or go to Central City down there. I mean, they're just moving them around and they're not solving anybody's problems. We don't want to address it that way, but we are addressing it. And that's why, even though we're the second largest city, we don't have the second largest homelessness problem.
Thank you, Steve. The next question has to do with
I don't think
finance.
Jake had a chance.
Just come
Oh,
in.
my bad, thank you, Jake.
He's
Sorry.
got to clean it.
No problem.
No problem. Because homelessness is such a complex issue with so many different contributing and causing factors, the response of a city and the role of a city is to address those, right? In healthcare and public health, in the field that I work in, there's a lot of talk about problem patients, and we're often prompted though to look at it as patients with problems. And homelessness, houselessness, being unhoused is a similar situation. And besides the task force that the city does a great job with and has received accolades from other agencies that work on this issue as well, we also have programs that provide block grants or sub-grants to community organizations that work in a lot of different sectors to address all of these different problems that folks are impacted by when they are unhoused. And so substance abuse, trauma, all those types of issues as well. Food security was mentioned as well. I believe that the role of a city, that's what the original question was, the role of a city is to provide those services and resources that we cannot individually provide for ourselves. I can't connect myself to the electric grid, I can't build a freeway, I can't put up my own crosswalks, etc. And for these individuals who are unhoused in our city, I think that we should be investing more in making our task force more robust, in offering more sub-grants and funding for community groups that already do this work, are experts in these different fields, so that we're leveraging that instead of trying to do everything ourselves.
Thank you, Jake. My next question has to do with finance. The job of a city council is largely to set the budget for the city. In fact, that's probably the most important thing that you will do as city council and as mayor. I would like you to address what your experience is with finance, what your experience is with just being able to set a budget, and your ideas around what's important in that budget. So there's three things there: your experience in finance, your experience in being able to set a budget, and your ideas of what is important. Those are the three things I want you to address. And I'm going to start with Jim, and we'll go this way this time. And then the two mayoral candidates will be last.
Thank you for the question. It's interesting you started with me, since I regularly speak when they open up the budget. My experience with the budget is back in the 80s, I was a store manager with Home Depot, and in a store that was making $1 million a week. We had to set budgets, and we were stuck to those budgets. We were making budgets a year ahead of time. For finance, in high school, and my beginning part of college, I thought I was going to be an accountant. Then all the computers came in, and accounting went bye-bye, basically. So I went into the military. Being able to set a budget, I believe West Valley City should set an all-inclusive budget, and not reopen it except for rollovers and stuff like that. If it's something that we do every single year, it should be in the initial budget, because when a budget is set, and by the end of the year, that budget is not the same. The law requires a balanced budget. By the end of it, it's not balanced anymore.
Great. Thank you very much. Lindy.
Yeah, the only experience I've had is with my own checking account. I use Quicken. We balance our check when we want to buy something, a house or a car or whatever. We plan, you have a vision of what you want and how you're gonna get there. And you plan for it. And you keep in that budget, we're able to save and spend. I don't believe you should spend more than what you have. And you should try to stay with your budget unless it's an emergency. You can have emergency funds for those types of things, but try to stay with the budget, keep with your goals, and have a goal and a vision in mind.
Great. Thank you, Lindy. Lars?
I'm a high school math teacher as my primary profession, and so budgets are numbers, and I love budgets. And I have 8 years' experience of working with the city budget. And we have an amazing finance department and city manager who are very great at budgets. And we had a very interesting situation in the past 18 months. You know, in the spring of 2020, we had to set the budget for the fiscal year that started in July and ended this June, and we had no idea what was going to happen. No one did. And our city manager has been through a few cycles in our economy over the many years that he's been serving, and he helped us and we prepared a great budget that had so much flexibility in it, that allowed for different results depending on what would happen. And it turned out that our revenue was even better than we had projected before the pandemic. And we were able to make some purchases that we didn't put in our original budget because we didn't know if we would have the money. And so we need to have a budget that allows that kind of flexibility, not have everything set in stone 15 months before the end of the year. And we do that, and we do have a balanced budget by the end of the fiscal year.
Thanks, Lars. Scott?
Yeah, thank you. Part of my work is reviewing, setting and reviewing budgets for large multifamily projects across the state. And as I do that, I look at and we're looking at operating budgets. So these are operating budgets, how these projects are performing for the year, and how they expect to perform for the next year. And that's what I would expect to see for the city is, what is our operating budget? And then, as a secondary line item, what are in my work, it's capital needs or other expenditures that we have. And so for the city, what are some capital needs? What are some extra items that we hope to do if we have availability? I think that's the goal. When I knock doors with my neighbors and I talk to them and they have concerns about, taxes and what the city's spending money on, I have to think, okay, would I be willing to knock doors and get a collection for some of these things that we're doing at the city? That's how I have to think about it as I'm reviewing and approving of a budget for the city. Is would I feel good about talking to my neighbors about funding these things? Some things I would, and maybe other things I wouldn't, but that's how I look at it.
Thank you very much, Scott. Chris?
Thank you for the question. Some of my experience working with budgets, again, I'm on the school community council where my daughter goes to school. Myself, a group of other concerned parents, the principal of the school, and one of the educators, we have to figure out every year what we're gonna do with the state's land trust money. We're talking, for just a small elementary, tens of thousands, sometimes close to $100,000 a year of money that we have to decide what we're gonna do with this money that can best help the children in our elementary. Is it gonna be hiring another educator? Is it gonna be putting more books in our library? What are we gonna do with that money? That's something that we meet every month and we talk about and we discuss. How are we gonna spend this money? Where I live is an HOA. We've got 56 units where we live. And I was recently, on the HOA board, and I was the treasurer of the HOA board. We would collect money from each one of our 56 houses, and we would have to budget that money to make sure that we're taking care of the needs that we've promised our community, that they don't have to take care of, that money that they give us, we are providing services, that those services are being met, and they're being done fiscally responsible, so that we're getting the best bang for our buck. At home, my wife and I have a budget. We use YNAB right now. And again, we've got to balance that budget. And we've got to take that same mentality to our city council, make sure that The things that our government is responsible for is being taken care of. We're doing it well, and we're doing it fiscally responsible, and we're balancing it at the end of every budget opening and at the end of every year.
Thank you very much, Chris. Daryl?
Yeah, budgets are very important. If you don't have a budget, then you may have a problem later on. I've been involved with a lot of different budgets with work. I work with the federal government as well as through the church that I attend, and making sure that the budgets are kept and met within that framework. Budgets are very important, and I get concerned because when I see the budget of West Valley, I attended the meeting this year with when the budget was passed. It's $90 million, and it was just one vote. My concern is one vote, and you're saying yes to everything in that budget, when I think it'd be great to have a budget broken up into smaller compartments. As a citizen of the city, I go on and try to figure out what the budget was. It was just line after line of expenses and incomes and so forth. But if you saw an increase in an area, it didn't tell you what the increase was for. It just told you, here's the amount. And so to me, it's very difficult as a citizen to just look at the budget and say, you know, that's a very good budget. I'm glad that they passed that ordinance or whatever. Several years ago, I was at a council meeting, and Karen Lane brought up Fazio Park. Fazio Park had a brick wall that was falling apart, and she said we need to address it. 2 years later, it's still not being addressed. So the budget needs to address the needs of the citizens when it's brought up by the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake?
I think I said this was my first sojourn into elected office, but actually now that I remember it, in junior high I ran for treasurer. So, I don't know if that helped lead me into the career that I'm in now, but over the last 9 years I've been manager and program director for public health and clinics, including operating and directly overseeing a budget of over $5 million and different facilities and employees all across the state. And so dealing with planning for and dealing with very complex budgets, very variable revenue streams, and not necessarily knowing all the time how much money is going to be coming in or how much is going out, especially when we have a public health emergency like a pandemic or something like that. That was mentioned before as to one of the reasons why this budget is not locked in, and why there are budget openings, and why there is time and opportunities to scrutinize different expenses, sometimes as a chunk, but individually they're all assessed. That was a third part of the question, was about prioritization. For me personally, I look at prioritizing items based on urgency and impact. And sometimes, as has been expressed with Fazio Farms and the park, sometimes there are differing opinions about what expenses are going to be the most impactful or which are the most urgent. But when there's a set criteria and everyone agrees on them, that's a great way to be able to manage a budget.
Thank you, Jake. Mr. Bueller?
Thank you. Like Karen, I've operated my own business for more than 20 years. And of course I have to budget and develop revenue and so forth. About the city budget, it's not true that we just look at it and vote on it once. Almost every meeting involves budgetary items. The budget itself is more or less both a summary and a projection of what we're going to do as a city. Most of our budget is fixed, and most of it goes to payroll, and most of that goes to public safety. A lot of it, some of it goes to bond payments, things that are already fixed. It's not like every year we sit down and we say, okay, we have $90 million. What do you want to do with it this year? It's not like that at all. One thing that Karen brought up several years ago, which I supported her on and continue to support her on, is capital improvements, having a budget for that, not just seeing what we can do when we can do it, but to have a long-term plan. And we have a bubble chart that's famous, that's our long-term plan, and sees when things will be paid off and when we can do something else, and it's been a great tool for the city. Some people say that we should run the city like a business, and I disagree with that, because the goal of business is to make a profit. If we're making a profit, then we are either not providing enough services for the money we're receiving, or we're overtaxing our residents. But I'll tell you this, if you look at your property tax, that $400 or $500 that's the city's share, you're getting a bargain. 24/7, 365 police, 24/7, 365 fire, roads, animal control, everything else that we do, we're getting a bargain here in the city.
Thank you, Steve. Karen?
So experience will take my whole time. So fortunately, we do have our own business. We operate similar to just the good old farmer. We have revenue 6 months a year, and then we don't have revenue for 6 months a year. So 39 years worth of practice of making do with what we get. And budgeting and planning, adjusting our pricing for what we need to cover our expenses to make sure we can make it to the next year. Because our goal is to have a business for a long time. The boards I sit on, I help with the Jordan Valley Water Conservancy District. I sit on their board, we do the budget, and I'm on the audit committee there. The hospital, we have a board. As a board, we approve the budget every year, and we look at that. We project of what, as bad as a hospital is, what surgeries, what intake you're gonna come, and then what expenses you have. So I have quite a bit of experience with the budgeting, setting in a budget. And I do, as a group, we have strategic plan as a council and mayor every year to prioritize different needs of the city. So sometimes we will kind of veer off and reassign the budget to something that's come up for that particular year. So each year we spend about 2 days working on budget and what we need to do for the future year.
Thank you, Karen. The next question I want to ask, I'm going to go to Scott first. We'll work around this way and come back here. The question I want to ask has to do with your interaction as council members. There are 5. Is it 5? 5, 6, 7, 7. 6?
6 in the mayor.
6 in the mayor. I should have known that. I should have done my homework. 6 in the mayor. As a city council person and as a mayor, hopefully you're not always going to agree. And you're going to be getting instructions or feedback from the city manager or other departments. What is your leadership style in working with others, and how do you disagree without being disagreeable?
That's a great question. What's my leadership style? I think, just for a quick second, I want to, in city council about a month ago, I emailed the city council and mayor about a topic in my neighborhood. And as I watched city council deal with this issue, I was really impressed that Steve really, I don't know if he turned the council, but he changed my heart on the issue of a rezone. And so I think that's a great example, and hopefully I can be more like Steve and be a good leader to help influence and change opinion and ideas, and be willing to do the same myself. We always have to think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe my thinking is not correct, and I need to think about it a different way. So I think those are the keys, I think, of being a good leader in the council, is not only being able to influence the others, but to also be influenced.
Thank you, Scott. Chris?
I think it's important that even though we have 7 individual folks, that we can come together with a vision and a plan of where we want to be at the end of the discussion, at the end of a couple of years, at the end of whatever it is we're looking at. Because if we can work together and have that common goal, then we can have the small disagreements and conversations about how we get there. We need to be able to respect each other, and if we don't have the answer, we need to be willing to defer to those that do. I'm not always gonna have the answer to every question that's brought to me, but I know a lot of people, and I know who to ask on a lot of these issues. And I'm gonna defer to some of them, I'm gonna ask them the questions if I don't have the answer, and then I will get back to you with that answer. I will get back to the council with that answer. These are the ideas, this is what our city wants, these are what the people are talking about. This is what their vision is. Does that line up with our vision? How can we get that vision at the same place? And then how can we work out those details to get there? As far as leadership, that's something I wanna push, is working as a group together to get things done that align with what our city wants and what our city needs and the residents of our city.
Thank you, Chris. Daryl, Daryl.
Yeah, I think it's important to the word council, and you also have to counsel together. You have to counsel to discuss, have open discussions on things. I've seen things where I went to a meeting once, and a congressman spoke up, and he said, we need to embrace the argument. Right now, we're so polarized with things that people, if you're not within a political party or a certain stature, then you're evil, you're corrupt. And I think we need to be able to have those discussions, be able to have those, even an argument if it need be, to come to a consensus of what is the best thing to do. You can't just go by and just say, I disagree with things. We need to be able to disagree and then work together to move that forward. I think councils are very, very important. I've said on a lot of different councils, and if every voice is not there to participate, then we're missing out on different thoughts and different ideas. I've always told my children, you've got to participate. If you're in a meeting with someone, then you need to speak out and take a active part in that meeting, and not just sit there passively. You're there for a reason, then be there and let's discuss things. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Jake?
Yeah, for most of my life here in the United States, West Valley's been a big part of that. But for a time when my wife and I were attending school, we didn't live here. We live in another community, another big city where the politics, where the city council meetings and county council meetings were very lively, quite volatile, sometimes borderline aggressive. And when we came back to West Valley and decided to get into city council and get civically engaged in our community where we're raising our kids, I kind of expected that. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised that the demeanor was not that way here in our city. And even though I know what political parties folks on the council are affiliated with, and I know what ideologies in general folks align with, that very, very rarely, if ever, comes up. And so in terms of my leadership style, I've actually learned a lot of that from my colleagues on the council, who do have very differing opinions, who do have different perspectives and different backgrounds, are from different political parties. But when we come together as a council, this was mentioned before, there is a camaraderie and there is a respect that, yeah, we can politicize a pothole, we can politicize the streetlights, we can politicize all kinds of things, but we have a shared agreement, a mutual unspoken agreement that we're all here for West Valley City, and to try to figure out how to do the best for the city together. And I think that unity and that camaraderie is something that I've learned and I will continue to enact if you elect me again.
Thanks, Jake. Steve?
Thank you. We are very fortunate. Although we have sincere disagreements, we don't throw books and leave in a huff. And the most we might do is privately cry in our pillow when we get home. But then we come back to work and we are still able to talk together and work through things. A few years ago, it was brought to my attention that from the outside, people perceived that we had two factions in the council. And that really concerned me, even though according to that viewpoint, I was in the majority faction. And I made a concerted effort to try to heal that and not let that really be the case. And I think that we were able to overcome that problem, or beginning of a problem. I look forward to being elected mayor. If I'm not elected mayor, I won't be on the council. But if I am elected mayor, I'm looking forward to whoever the new councilman or council members are, taking them to dinner, meeting with them, asking them why they want to be on the council, what are their goals, and so that we can start off on a good foot working together. I did that 4 years ago when Jake was elected. And I want to include everybody. It's not like you have to come my way or if you're gonna be part of this. Somebody mentioned before, they may not be the smartest guy in the room. I thought they were talking about me. I was like, wait a minute, why are you talking about me? I'm not. Not every good idea is mine, but I think I'm smart enough to recognize a good idea and adopt it and promote it.
Thanks, Steve. Karen?
Thank you. My leadership is respect and listening. And I think that really plays well. As a council, I know we don't always agree and vote exactly the same, but we can go to dinner after. Everybody respects each other's point of view, their concerns, because each one of us have had different experiences. And I really appreciate the fact that I can listen, learn from what they're saying. Sometimes they have, like I said, it was me. I'm not the smartest person, but I'm willing to listen and learn. And so sometimes they'll have an insight that I didn't think about, and sometimes I'll bring up an insight they haven't thought about. So I really appreciate that as a council, we respect each other and we listen and then make the best decisions we can for the city.
Thanks, Karen. Jim?
In the military taught us, you're never gonna know everything, but know where to find the answer. At Home Depot, customer's always right. Talk to your customers, they'll never lead you wrong. In the city, you, the residents, are the ones that we work for. We need to listen to you. As we're listening and bringing our opinions together and talking, we, like they've all said, we may not always agree, but when we leave the chamber or whatever, we all need to be a cohesive spirit. And remember that you guys are our bosses. We may not always agree with each other. We may stick and be the only nay or the yay vote, and that's okay. We're all different. We all have different experiences up here, and that's okay. That's what makes West Valley City great, is all our different experiences. And it all starts with listening to you and then bringing it here and working together.
Thank you, Jim. Lindy?
Yeah, I think that we just have to keep in mind that we're all here for the same reason. We all want the best for West Valley City, and we all have that same mentality. But we need to work together as a team. When you stand together, you can make you can make progress. You can work together. A house that's divided falls. And so we need to have respect for each other, we need to listen to each other, and kindness goes a long way. But we all have different ideas, so we open up, we listen to those ideas, and we take it all in and learn and grow from that. We can always agree to disagree, but we can just be, be open, be listening, and be respectful.
Thank you, Lindy. Lars?
Don't we live in a great city? I mean, I heard everybody's response, and I'm like, yes, I believe in that. Yes, that's so great. Isn't it wonderful that we have a city council that can work together and not bring party politics? I read about what's happening in Washington, D.C., or even up on our own Capitol Hill, and we don't have that in our city council, and I love it. And I agree with everything that everyone said, that we listen to each other, we have mutual respect, we listen to our residents, and I believe that all 7 of us make a decision based on what we think is best for the city as a whole. And as long as we all feel that way, we can disagree and still be respectful. And that's what we do and will continue to do.
It is 10 minutes to the hour. We are off the Facebook feed at 8 o'clock. So what I would like you to do in the next 10 minutes is take actually, I'm gonna do one thing, just because I wanted to do it. It was an idea that came to me. I'm gonna give you a topic, and in one sentence, tell me what you think about it, okay? So I'm gonna start here with Steve. The topic is the Jordan River. One sentence.
It's an asset that's underdeveloped. We need to take advantage of it.
Okay, Karen.
Same thing. We need to treat it as a jewel and keep it clean and do our best to preserve it as a great asset and resource.
Okay, Jim.
Great asset, resource, we need to keep it clean. Also, I agree 100%.
Okay, Lindy.
Clean it up, make it beautiful, and we can enjoy it.
Thank you, Lars.
I think it's a great opportunity and we need to do more.
Good. Okay.
I was
Scott.
gonna say, same opportunity for us to really improve our recreational opportunities.
Good. Chris.
It's a beautiful resource that belongs to our residents, that belongs to our whole state, and we need to make sure we are taking care of it as well as developing it where it needs to be.
Okay, Daryl.
Just recreation, make sure that it's accessible and clean for the citizens.
Okay, Jake.
It's an opportunity for us to be collaborative and to invest in being good stewards of.
Okay. Next topic, economic development. One sentence about economic development. What are your feelings? Steve. Actually, I'm going to start with Jake this time, since you had the first bite.
I don't have anything to say.
Major priority that benefits all of us.
Okay, Daryl.
Making sure that we're attracting businesses and other entities for the people of West Valley to work in.
Great, Chris.
When it comes to developing anything in our city, economic or housing, we need to make sure that we're taking care of the residents that are already there so that we're building the right things in the right places.
Okay,
An opportunity to be collaborative with our economic partners in the city.
good. Lars.
We need to focus on small businesses that are already here, make sure that they can be successful, as well as bringing in other economic opportunities.
Okay, Lindy.
Have a vision, have a plan, know where you're going so you can get there.
Great. Jim.
When the businesses come to the city, we need to recognize them, thank them, show appreciation by being there for the ribbon cuttings and speaking about them throughout the city and let everybody know that a new company is here.
Karen.
Diversity. We need diversity in our economic development so that we're not dependent on one income source, that if one business leaves, we're sunk. We need a great array of different businesses.
Okay.
The
Steve.
140,000 residents of West Valley City should not have to leave its boundaries for any services or products.
Okay. All right. I've got another one, but we're kind of out of time, so I won't throw that one to you. It was a good one too. All right. So I'm going to again start with the mayoral candidates, and then just go around. I want you to, in the next minute or two at the most, just give us why you're the person, these people should vote for you. Steve.
I've enjoyed working with Karen. I'm going to miss working with her if I'm not elected. If I am elected, we'll both still be there. I want to be the mayor. I want to be the leader of the council, and I'm the longest tenured on the council. I think that I've proven leadership style of collaboration and listening, and I hope to be able to continue to serve. If not, I respect democracy, and I certainly accept the will of the people.
Karen?
Thank you. I don't even know where to start with that one. But I want to be your mayor, and I think I have the qualifications to do it in a respectful manner. I have the experience of all my other boards that gives me those relationships with state, county, and other city mayors and councils. And I think I can step in and keep that relationships with those people going strong. I know Mayor has done a good job of keeping those relationships up. And I have the structure to be able to just step in and start the ball running right off the get-go. I too have appreciated working with Steve and other members of the council, and it would be my privilege to lead them in the next 4 years.
Thank you, Karen. Jim?
It'd be my privilege to serve you as your next at-large. I will always be there for you. My whole campaign is based on that. You send me an email, you're gonna get a response. You call me, you're gonna get a response. You send me 10 emails, you're gonna get a response that you might not like. But I'm always gonna respond to you. I'm always gonna listen to you. You come knock on my door. That's one thing I love about Karen Lang. You go to the nursery, middle of May when she's super busy, you might have to follow her around to talk to her, but she's gonna listen even though she's still working. I wanna be the exact same kind of council person and listen to you. You're my boss, you're every city employee's boss, and I will never forget that.
Thank you. Lindy?
Yes, I wanna be the city council because I like to serve and I like the people and I like West Valley. And I learned my leadership skills in the military. I have served in different areas, and I want to do this. I can do this. It is time for me to do this. And I put every effort and work hard for you, and I will listen to you.
Thank you. Lars?
As a math teacher and mathematician, my specialty is solving problems. We take information and decide what's important and use that information to logically arrive at the optimal solution. And I apply those skills as a member of the city council. And I'm looking out for our residents and for our future and applying those skills to help us solve the problems that we have now and anticipating the problems that we might face in the future.
Great. Scott?
I love West Valley, and I want it to be better tomorrow than it is today. And I want to be a part of that, and that's why I'm running for city council.
Thank you. Chris?
There's, as it's been said, there's 140,000 residents in our city. There's about 35,000 of them in District 2. I may have my pet projects that I want to do, but in all of my campaign lit and all of my discussions with everybody, my number one issue is listening. I'm not running so that I can do the things that I want to do for me. I'm running so that we can work together as a team to find the solutions for our city, for the problems that we are facing today and tomorrow into the future. We've got lots of issues that we're facing locally, nationally, and globally. And if we work together, then together we can find the right solutions for West Valley City. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Daryl?
Yes, I love to serve. I've had the opportunity to serve in different capacities. I love to serve. I love the opportunity to reach out and strengthen others, to come up with ideas and discuss ideas with others and help accomplish great things. I'm a self-starter in a lot of ways in work in my profession. What I do with work, I want to embrace change and opportunities. And I just love the opportunity to meet the people of the city, and I've been out and met with several of them. It's just such a great opportunity to represent the city, not only on the council, but represent the city at the state level and in our county. I appreciate the opportunity for you to elect me in the 4th District. Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl. Jake?
Yeah. Asking for your vote is the most uncomfortable and awkward thing that I've ever done. Campaigning is uncomfortable. Wearing a shirt with my own name on it? Like, who does that? Asking people to put my name in their yards, on signs on their fences, asking people for their money that I know could be put to much better uses is awkward. But I feel like campaigning, and the reason why I'm running and the reason why I'm willing to be uncomfortable and to get awkward is because this is not about me. I was expecting to get a question tonight about, what are you proud of, or what are some of the accomplishments that you've had? And if I'm honest, it's not about not voting for tax increases. It's not about the decisions we've made about diversifying our housing mix. It's not about increasing pay for our first responders and our police officers. It's about the fact that I have been able to elevate voices, generate ideas in talking with my neighbors and residents in my area, and bring them to fruition. And that also includes getting people who never imagined themselves getting involved in the city nominated and appointed and approved by the city council to serve on our police oversight board, professional standards board, and other organizations. To me, that's what I'm most proud of, is being able to elevate voices and get my neighbors involved, because this is not about me. It's about the community, and that's why I'm asking for your vote.
Thanks, Jake. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at 8 o'clock. I want to personally thank each of you for being here. I wish that the room would have been packed. It's not. We have a little work to do to inform our neighbors. Your ballots will be landing. If they didn't land today, they will be landing in your mailbox. I would just encourage you to vote and make sure your neighbors and friends also do the same. It's only through voting that representative democracy lasts. I think you would all agree that you have a great opportunity to select somebody here in this room. I think if you'd just join me in thanking them for putting their name on the line, and we'll conclude. Thank you. And that concludes the debate here in West Valley City.